Created with free version for non-commercial use.
In this lesson, we will learn how to make certain text appear important or emphasized. Or to phrase things in a less academic way, we'll learn how to make text appear bold or italic. This is a quick disclaimer that this lesson is perhaps a bit pedantic for a topic as simple as bold and italics. So if you want the quick answer, you can simply wrap a strong element around text to make it bold, and you can wrap an EM element around text to make it italic. However, if you'd like to learn more about the semantic reason behind why we do these things, then by all means, go ahead and view the entire lesson. Otherwise, you are free to skip to the next lesson. We will begin with an element named strong. In front of you is a text editor, and here is a sentence. When eating, it is imperative that you chew. So we've wrapped the word imperative in the HTML element named strong. The strong element is a tool that we can use to give strong importance to a certain bit of text. Typically, web browsers will render content inside the strong element in a bold typeface. And indeed, here we are in a web browser, and we can see that the word imperative is bold. Now, to throw a quick wrench in the lesson, what if I let you know that there was an additional element in HTML named simply B? So if I save and refresh, we can see literally no change in the web browser, which means the B tag, which stands for bold, will also make text bold. However, even though I want you to be aware of the B element, I don't want you to ever use it. So let's change this back to strong. And let's briefly discuss why most web developers will encourage you to use the strong tag instead of the B tag. The strong tag simply implies that its contents have strong importance. Now, while it's true that most web browsers by default will render strong in bold typeface, the element itself does not have an intrinsic relation to being bold. So let's say, for example, a year from now, we revisit this page and we decide that important words should be normal font weight, so not bold, but instead should be red. If we use the strong element, it is very simple to use CSS to target all strong elements and tell them to be a certain color. But if we used the B tag, that intrinsically implies that this context should be bold. It's not implying importance, it's simply implying a presentational preference, boldness. So it would be a bit awkward to use CSS to target the bold tag and tell it to not be bold. So in an effort to keep content and semantic meaning separate from presentational preferences, I recommend using the strong tag. Now, let's move on to our next topic, making certain text italic. So let's imagine that we have a new sentence which reads, "The cat did not like the dog." And let's imagine that we want to emphasize the word not. There is a tag or an element in HTML named EM, which stands for emphasis. So if I save and refresh in the web browser, we can see that the word not has been italicized. Now, the semantic meaning behind the EM element is that a person reading this sentence or a bit of screen reading software should pronounce the word differently. The cat did not like the dog. However, there are instances where we want to make certain text italic, but we do not want to add emphasis to the word. So let's imagine that we have another sentence which reads, "The word tree is typically used as a noun." In this case, we want the word tree to be italic. We do not want to add emphasis to the word. We simply want to designate that we're not using the literal meaning of the word tree, but we're instead referring to the technical properties of the word. So in a case like this, we can use the I element, which stands for italic. If we refresh in the web browser, we can see that the word tree has been italicized. However, for the same reason that I recommend you don't use the B tag, I will also recommend that you do not use the I tag if possible. So for example, the I tag is a quick fix and it's adding nothing but presentational preference. So instead we could use the DFN element, which stands for definition. So if we save and refresh, we can see that the word still remains italicized and this indicates that we're dealing with the definition or the technical properties of the word. But there are only so many elements in HTML, and there will come a time when you don't have the perfect element at your disposal. In a case like that, it's okay to use the I element, but ideally in a situation like that, you should add an attribute named class, and then give the attribute a value for this particular use of the I element. So we're using this I element to refer to a term, but you could come up with any name that you would like for this unique use case. That way, in the future, we can use a language like CSS to target all I elements with a class of term and style them a certain way. Also, this is very helpful when translating a website from one language to another, because certain languages don't treat italics the same way that English does. So to review, we've learned how to mark text as important, which will also consequently make the text bold by default, and we've learned how to make text appear emphasized or italic. Now there's one final point that I want to include before we close out this video, and that is if you have a web page with a significant amount of text, let's say 2 large paragraphs, and you decide that you want all of this text to appear bold. Not for any semantic reason, but simply from a design perspective, you like the way that bold appears. Please do not do something like this. Do not use the strong tag to make entire sections of your page bold, unless you actually want to designate that all of this text is important. Also, do not use the EM tag to make all of your body text italic simply because you like the way that it looks. Please, please do not do this. You will learn that there is another language named CSS, and that's where you can make design decisions. But HTML is where we make content description decisions. So HTML is not the place to be defining how entire sections of text should appear for design reasons. I will see you in the next lesson.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.